Thank you for your joining us today, Jason. Before we begin, could you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers and what brings you Seoul this time?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm Jason Schenker. I am a futurist and an economist. I am here to speak at the Metropolis 40th Anniversary Conference here in Seoul. And it's a great pleasure to be here. I've been to Korea many times, and it's always very nice to share views of the world with folks who are looking forward, trying to proactively plan for uncertainty, to seize new opportunities, and to manage risks.
In your keynote, you address how city leaders are facing rising demands from democratic pressure to technological disruption. So what do you think is the most urgent challenges metropolitan leaders must tackle right now?
I think the most important thing for leaders to do is sort of two strategies. The first is to make sure to foster an environment of perceived abundance. And by that I know cities are under pressure and urbanization is rising. But it's really important that the domestic populations don't feel that pressure, that they believe that there's essentially, right, they perceive unlimited abundance of power, water, the infrastructure, and the healthcare. If they feel that pressure, that presents a bigger challenge for city leaders. So making sure to foster that notion of abundance, the perceived abundance, making sure that people, even if cities are working really hard to try to keep everything running, that the populace doesn't feel that squeeze. The second thing I think is really important is social harmony. Fostering an environment of harmony, really important. We see in the world we live in increases in political divides, we see tensions rising, we see the risk of things like global geopolitics filtering down to the domestic city levels. And we see all kinds of other challenges from things like social media, where you have misinformation and disinformation and false consensus bias and other kinds of discontent that can be fostered and lead to domestic unrest. So all of those things really do come down to making sure, as a leader in a city, that the people that live there don't feel the pressures that the city officials feel. And I know that's a big burden to have, but I think that's important. And then also making sure that you foster as much harmony as you can to try to keep those risks a bit cooler than they otherwise could become.
On your slide, you also highlighted both opportunities and risk of AI, from the productivity gains to threat like misinformation and disconnection. So in your view, how should the city government approach AI adoption while also safeguarding democratic values and public trust?
This is a great question. I think that there's a tremendous potential for AI. And I think as we look back, I think thinking about whether you're going to use AI or not is like thinking whether or not you're going to use the internet. Or if you're in finance, thinking about whether you might use a spreadsheet or not. You know, this is going to be so fundamental to how businesses operate, to how we live, that it's going to be a core building block for a lot of businesses and interactions going forward. Now, that being said, there are risks with AI. And I think some of the biggest risks are that social disconnect. And one of the things that we've talked about is the importance of social harmony. And I think making sure people can still connect, building relationships, being present, making time for each other. Those are all really important things. And so while it's really important to grab as many of the benefits as possible from AI, right? Think about the productivity gains and all the analysis you can do and the operational efficiency you can build, but also making sure that you foster an environment where people make time to connect with each other, which is also why things like events are so very important, because people do need to come together.
So you coined the term the Cold War II, describing a new era of geopolitical uncertainty. How do these global tensions impact the urban politic decisions, especially around the tech, supply chains, and city resilience?
Cold War II and the challenges geopolitically that we may face as a planet could be the defining conflict of the 21st century. And even though these conflicts happen at the national level, because of increased urbanization, more people are living in cities, and there's even more going forward. People in cities will be under stress. They'll be under pressure if a conflict goes hot, goes kinetic, or if supply chains get disrupted, or if What happens if the operations of a city are disrupted because they can't get the physical equipment they need to run their utilities, or the water, or the power? So there are all kinds of risks. And people in cities will look to the local leadership to provide them with comfort in those moments of stress and concern. Yes, there's a look to federal governments, but local governments will feel that stress and pressure very acutely. So it will be really important for leaders of municipalities today to start planning for what happens if we do see the global economy split in two. What happens if a technological iron curtain between China and its allies, North Korea, Russia, Iran, and the US and its allies, South Korea, Japan, NATO, what happens if that technological iron curtain falls and you end up with a full cutoff? Now, there's opportunities here too. For Korea, I think there's big opportunities here because ICT industries have a chance to gain global market share, take market share away from China. But for cities, if we see this conflict tension rise further, which seems quite likely, even though these are things at the country level, those city leaders may be under pressure. So it's really good to think about how they might plan for those disruptions, how exposed the assets and their infrastructure are if you were to have an instantaneous cutoff of the Chinese economy from the rest. So I think these are things to be considering before it becomes a problem.
Lastly, you praise Seoul, Korea as a model of a public-private partnership, innovation, and future thinking. So what lessons do you think other cities or the businesses around the world can learn from Seoul's approach?
Oh, I love this one. You know, whenever I tell people, I know, including other futurists, that I'm going to Seoul, they always say, you're going to the future. And people know that, right? The focus, the economic miracle that Korea has experienced over the last half a century is truly remarkable and has a lot to do with embracing high-tech industries, public-private partnerships where the government and business are pushing together to make sincere and significant improvements in the economy, making investments in technology, helping growth, helping to try to improve the society. Seoul does this really well. Korea does this really well. I think other cities and other countries could learn from the value of investing in technology industries, investing in education, and having a sincere push of government and business together to make real progress.
So thank you for your time with us today. It was very great time and proper to have your interview this time. It was great opportunity to understand geopolitical impact in challenges and opportunity, and also great insight of the AI as well. So I also hope we can have more time to have your profound views in near future.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
Thank you.